So welcome everybody. We'll have probably a shorter class today due to some of our family needs and desires. But we'll still cover the passage, I hope, mostly. So we are in Isaiah 11. And this is a great place to be, any place in the Bible is great to be, but our passage has basically two main parts. And I am sometimes very surprised why those who pick the passage would pick it this way. But in this particular case, it's actually really great, because if you read the verse 11:1, there shall come forth shoot from the stump of Jesse, and the branch from his root shall bear fruit. And if you go to verse 10, in that day the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the people, of him shall the nations inquire, and the resting place shall be glorious. So this root of Jesse, or name of Jesse, is kind of like a borderlines, forms what is known for scholars as inclusio. Okay, so that's the beginning and the end. So definitely what's going on between those verses. That's the passage. And now we have two main parts. I would see, or actually, we can break it into three, but I would say two main parts, from 2 to 5, and then from 6 to 9, we kind of shift the picture, shift the gear, and it's a little bit different story. We are not about actually him. We see what's going on, because he's in charge. How it will change into that. Okay? So let's go from the very beginning. First of all, why are we talking about shoot from the stump of Jesse? Okay, who Jesse is? Who knows?
Father
of whom? Father of whom?
Yeah. David.
David, okay? So he's the father of David. Why do we need to say, why we couldn't say just David will be here? Okay? Because there is an important idea that unfortunately all of what's going on here, it's pretty messy. It's a hard. It's really a tough story, because the kings go not better and better, but they are going badder and worse. It's actually going downhill. And we will find a decent guy, Hezekiah, in the middle of the book. But most likely, at the moment, when the Assyrians are approaching and almost took over northern kingdom, even in Judea, in the south part, it's not really so fun and pretty. Saying about Assyrians and the north and the south, I want to do two things, as we usually do. I want to have a timeline, and a little bit of map. So you would just refresh your minds, what are we talking about? Whenever we are in Isaiah, let's say this is our time, and this is roughly 30 AD, okay? And this is our Exodus. Okay, so this is roughly 1445 BC. In about year 1000, we have our, again BC, we have a temple built, okay? In 586 BC, we have temple destroyed. Okay, so somewhere in between here, we also have another date which is kind of cool to remember. 722 BC. That's where North falls. Okay, so Northern Kingdom. And that's the time, this is Isaiah's time. Okay, so he is 140 years before destruction of the temple. And he is about 700 plus years before Jesus' birth. Okay, so when, like in chapter 7, we have this wonderful and beautiful prophecy about a girl getting pregnant, and we will have Emmanuel, God is with us. That's when the prophecy was given. So that's a kind of important timeline. So 2 more things. I don't know, can you see it? Okay. So that's our Israel map, and we have south roughly over here. This is Judah. Okay, and we have north. Okay, and they would call themselves Israel. Okay, so Assyrians, who were, if this is the Persian Gulf and Tigris and the Euphrates, they would come, it's not really a scaled map, but they would come over here, and they conquered Samaria, so the capital of North Samaria, in 722. They even came to Jerusalem, and we have it in Isaiah. That's a whole story of 36 to 38 chapters. So they came to Jerusalem, but because king decided to basically die. So when he went fasting, when you fast, when you put the sackcloth on yourself, or you put the ashes upon yourself, when you do not eat, you present yourself to God as a dead person. Because the sackcloth was used to bury people, and if you put ashes upon, that means you are below the level of the ground. Okay, symbolically speaking. And if you do not eat, that's what the people do. They don't eat. I mean, whatever customs you have, and way back in Russia had weird stuff, when people would bring food on the graveyard, and this is, the candies and, oranges and blah, 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 all of this kind of stuff. I don't know who consumes it, but definitely not dead people. I'm pretty sure about that part. Okay? So I do not want to destroy anybody's, how can I say, parental beliefs. So that's the stuff. So because he humbled himself and the kingdom and the capital with him, God made a miracle, and the Syrian army basically retrieved. So for some still historically and logically unexplained reason, but it's in Isaiah. So we are roughly in this messy time. Therefore, there used to be a great and very glorious tree that started with Jesse as roots, and there was a kind of trunk of David, Solomon, and a bunch of branches. So the whole idea is basically all of that would be cut down, but instead of drying out and be dead, there will be a shoot out of that, and everything will start anew. So it's a new David, new Solomon, and so on and so forth. So when we see that Jesus is attributed as the son of David, or he is kind of like a Davidic king that entered Jerusalem, it's not because he is a new incarnation of David. It's a different story. He is David-like, but on a new and a good sense. Okay, so that's an important picture. And now, okay, I can erase all of that at least. Now there is a great, really, Pastor brought up idea of manga and all of this pictorial stuff. Look at that. These guys knew exactly what they were doing when they wrote these passages down. Now, we have, he will have, let's read verse 2. The Spirit of the Lord will rest upon him. Okay? And we know, especially we in the New Testament church, we know that the Spirit is associated with light, okay, with fire. So the Spirit of the Lord, let's have one mark, will rest upon him, and the spirit of wisdom and understanding, and the spirit of counsel and might, and the spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. Okay? Now, if you want to make picture out of that, that's how it looks like. Okay?
No.
What is this?
Menorah.
Menorah. Okay, menorah is just basically a word for lamp or light. Not light as a light, but that's your light fixture. Okay, so we take it as a very special term for temple stuff, but that's just regular thing. But that's the thing that was used in the temple or previously in the tabernacle. And the thing is, the usage of this light is not only to give a light into pretty dark space of holy place, but the structural reason for that, let's take this out. And those of you, was it a year ago? Yeah, about a year ago, when the tabernacle was on the Good Shepherd campground, those of you who were able to go and see it, it's kind of cold. So you enter in, so let's position it right. This is north, south, what is that? West and east. So you have a tent with two parts. Okay, it should be square. Tent. So you have a altar of incense here. So you have a coal burning, and the smoke goes here up. But then here you have a table with 12 loaves of bread. And across the table, that's where you have the light. So the light is basically overseeing the table. And since table with 12 loaves represents people of Israel, the light is overseeing and, in a sense, judging 12 tribes of Israel. Judging, when we, same as in Russian, in English when we hear he judged him, it means something negative, okay? Not necessarily in Hebrew, okay? To judge in Hebrew, if you have a mishpat, that's a word, it means to pass the judgment. So when God said, after every day of creation, he said, it was good, okay? That's a judgment. It's not because the day was bad and it was condemned, but God passed the judgment. Okay, so he said what it is. So when it says that you, as believers, will judge the world, not necessarily you will condemn the world. You will say, you will be given of enough wisdom to figure out, is it good or bad? Okay? You will make statements about qualities of the world. And being filled with this light, being basically the light of this guy, now let's go to verse 3 and 4. And his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. Okay, fear of the Lord constitutes what? We have this phrase recurring many times, and especially in Proverbs and sometimes in Psalms. It's what? Something, blah, 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 is the fear of the Lord.
The beginning of wisdom.
Correct. So he will be wise enough to pass the judgment. Exactly. And he will, therefore, okay, second part of verse 3, he shall not judge by what he sees and even decide disputes on what he hears. But his guidance, or he will be guided by what? By the righteousness. Okay, so there is a standard, basically golden standard, and he will judge for the poor, and he will decide equity for the meek of the earth, and he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Okay, two things. So first of all, with the second part of verse 4, he shall strike the rod with the he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. So, what kind of picture do we have of Jesus at the very beginning of the book of Revelation? Remember? One of the things, what we see, he is all shiny, it's all glorious, light and gold and so on and so forth. But one important thing, that what comes out of his mouth is a sword. Okay? It's a sword, which is a spiritual sword as a word of God. Okay? So that's the means of transformation for the earth. Same as the breath of lips can include two important things. The breath itself, especially the breath of divine person, created human beings. Okay? In the very beginning of Genesis in chapter 2, that God breathed into the preformed some kind of shape of dust, and that thing became Adam. On the other hand, lips in the Bible are very closely associated with worship. Okay? Tongue is associated with communication. Lips with worship. If you want to prove, let's go into Psalm 51. Psalm 51, verse is, if my memory is correct, Psalm 51, verse 15. Okay? O Lord, open up my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. Okay? So, his prayer for lips will create new people. Okay? Basically. And so, with the word of God, he will transform the earth, and he will create new people, therefore wicked will be killed. Once I had a privilege to have a dog, more than actually once, but once, even repeated more than once. Okay, now retired St. Louis professor of dogmatics, Robert Colvin, said that the sinner should die. That's it. He just should die. The question is, how is he going to die? Either he dies in the baptism, or he dies at the very end. Okay? So when we see here that with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked, it does not necessarily mean there are a bunch of good guys, and he will defend them and kill all the wicked. What it most likely means is he will transform all of us who used to be wicked into the good guys. Okay? So we would not be wicked anymore. Okay? That's kind of important. And as we have righteousness in the very beginning of the passage in verse 4, now we end this particular block with the same stuff. The righteousness shall be belt of his waist, and the faithfulness belt of his loins. So just to make it, I don't know how clear it will be if I will make this as a kind of parallel to Ephesians chapter 6, remember? Where all the armor of the good Christian soldier is lined up. It doesn't pick up all that stuff, but it's kind of like what it is. And especially in the earlier days, in the more ancient days, where men were robed with like long robes. So to move fast, you need to have it, you need to have it bent. Okay, it's one thing, and another thing is, if you want to do some activities, you also take the ends and you kind of tie them around here. Because what? Because if you will start to run really fast and all of this will be exposed, and there was no underwear at those good old days, so you don't want to show up yourself nude to people around you. Okay? Now, verse 6 and following. So second part. There are a few ways to understand this passage. One of them, to believe that the earth will be transformed, or some kind of new earth will be created in such a way where predators will be able to live together with basically what they used to consider a prey, and no harm will be done, and so on and so forth. So it will be such a peaceful time when wolf shall lie together with the lamb, and the leopard will lie with the young goat, and so on and so forth. Possibly, but I would not consider that as a main reading. Actually, what I would think the main reading would be is if we read carefully what an Israelite, or especially a person who would live on the south, would read out of here. What they would think about when they would hear wolf and the lamb together. What I believe, okay, I might be wrong, very possibly, but what I believe, it is a statement about symbolism of some of the clans or tribes of Israel. If we'll go, for example, if we will go to Genesis 49, where Jacob blesses his sons. Let's go there for a second. Okay. In there. Okay, starting with, let's pick up one pretty obvious. Verse 27. So Genesis 49. Start with verse 27 first. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning devours the prey, and at evening divides the spoil. Okay, it's right there. Okay. With the lamb, it's a little bit more vague. Let's go to verse 8. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub on one hand. For the prey of my son have gone up. He stooped down, he crushed the lion as a lioness and theirs. And the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's or shepherd's staff from between his feet. And the tribute comes to him, and he shall be in obedience to the people, biting the raw vine, and so on and so forth. So, with many references to lion on one hand, and there is Lion of Judah and all of this kind of stuff, the staff kind of might refer to a shepherd, and we know that David was a shepherd, and some other characters from this tribe were shepherds. So there is a chance that the wolf and the lamb is kind of a peaceful time, first of all, for South Kingdom of Judah, because that's basically South Kingdom of Judah was constituted out of the Benjamites and Judeans, and but the second part of verse 6 is the leopard shall lie down with the goat, and the calf and the lion and the fatted calf together, and the little child shall lead them. So all together is leopard might be taken as a symbol of either Assyria or any foreign country, with opposition of the goat as a leadership animal in Israel society. And then you have calf, who would represent priests, and the lion might be, again, the kingly type of Judah tribe. And the most interesting thing is that the little child will lead them. That should bring us back to what we're not going to discuss in the very depth, but what we all know in Isaiah chapter 7. Where this child is born. See, this child is growing little by little, and that's the one who will finally lead them. Okay? I don't think it talks about Buddha. I don't think it talks about some other stories that we kind of might know of. I believe it talks about the one who's supposed to be born as God is with us, and he will lead everywhere. Okay, and if we look on the kind of map of how church spreads with all the problems, we have within the church, and with all the challenges we face now, we might see that where the church under leadership of Christ spread over, it's actually was a beneficial for those territories, because it was more justice, it was more education, it was more knowledge, it was more sanctity of life. More sanctity of life was brought onto those places. So, again, verse 7 picks up the same kind of theme of togetherness. The cow and the bear shall graze, and their young shall lie together, and the lion shall eat straw like an ox. One more thing. Sometimes people bring together that the lion and the lamb shall be together. Actually, the lion and the lamb, there is no passage in the Bible of the lion and the lamb being together. Let me scratch it. There is no passage, there is no prophecy in what we call Old Testament about the lion and the lamb. There is wolf and the lamb, and it's repeated actually kind of twice. But there is no lion and the lamb. Yet, we have mention of lion here a few times, and we have a lamb. Even if we do not have a direct prophecy about that, we do have a lion and the lamb combined together, actually in one person. If we will go into Revelation chapter 5, if you have your Bibles with you, you can open them, or you can trust my reading. So that's what I recently got a new Bible, and I'm still not used to that. Okay, so the thing is, in Revelation, what happens is, just to get you into the context, in chapter 5 of Revelation, we see John puzzled with a very serious question, because there is a throne, there are 24 elders, there is a scroll. The thing is, nobody is worthy to open the scroll, and he is very distressed about that. And so when I saw the right hand of him who was seated on the throne and a scroll written, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and break the seals?" And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look into it. And I began to weep loudly, because no one was found worthy to open the scroll. Yet one of the elders, okay, verse 5, said to me, "Weep no more. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, root of David, has conquered, and he can open the scroll and its 7 seals." Okay, he is told about the lion. He's basically pointed and see, here's the lion. Now, and between the thrones and 4 living creatures and among animals, I saw what he sees. Lamb standing. So he hears about the lion, but he sees the lamb, and it's the same figure. Okay? Go figure. But seriously, that's what might be. So we have one great Messiah who basically in himself combines all of those different characteristics or attitudes, and that's what he will do. And the verse now we have verse 9, and they shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be filled with knowledge of the Lord as water cover the sea. So again, the knowledge of the Lord comes not from our own ideas, but it comes from the word of the Lord. Okay, so the knowledge of the word, the verb is yada, very famous for not only mental knowledge, but of close relationship. Okay, so when we have close relationship, and when we share this experience of close relationship with others, then when this increases as water covers the sea, then people of different tribes, cultures, ideas, backgrounds, languages can live peacefully together. So in that day, verse 10, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the people. To him the nations inquire, and his resting place shall all be glorious. And I believe that's why we decorate the church and make our loud voices with the glorious proclamation of the Lord every worship service. Questions or comments?